So when given a melody, knowing when to modulate during the melody can be really hard, but Tchaikovsky gives us some really neat tricks to be able to know when to do that. So today we're going to be talking about actually dealing with modulations with a given melody, and it's really quite simple. Usually a melody will indicate to us in some capacity that we're going to modulate by having an accidental that's foreign to whatever key or tonality that we're currently in. So if you see an accidental written, whether it's a sharp, a flat, or a natural, it probably means that there is some type of chord going on underneath it that's going to be moving us towards a new tonic center. Usually one of these accidentals is going to be a member of a dominant seventh chord, which is going to push us in the direction of a new tonality, so a secondary dominant type functioning, or just some type of accidental that will deal with a dissonant chord that allows us to move into a new tonality. We just have to remember that when we're dealing with these foreign accidentals, we just have to be sure that they're going to be voice-led properly along with the chord that we are going to formulate under them. Usually this works out fairly well. In the most optimal cases, it would not break any rules, but sometimes, especially with this idea of free voice leading that we've talked about in the Tchaikovsky, there is the opportunity for a breakage of some of those rules for standard voice leading, or at least how we would think of standard voice leading in the modern era. And something that Tchaikovsky wants to drive home with any of these melody examples that he's giving us is that there's a certain distance that will actually work for any of the examples. So we have to make sure that we're using keys that are going to be in somewhat close relation. So we can't go off to distantly related keys with any of the melody examples. So an example to give is that if you're in the key of C major and you see the accidental of C sharp, it means that the keys that are probably closely related enough that would include this and also be used would be D major, D minor, and B minor. Now, getting to D or D minor, you really can just use a secondary functioning chord as a secondary dominant chord here, so a 5-7 of 5, etc., or 5-7 of whatever else. And what I'm trying to say by that is that you could use such a chord as 5-7 of the minor 2 or 5-7 of the major 2, even the 5-7 of 5, which is now going to be the 4 in the new key of D minor or D major. With B minor, it's probably more advisable that you would use something like a fully diminished seventh chord, so that way you can move to that new tonality without having to have that dominant resolution into what would otherwise be the more dissonant diminished chord of the key of C major. So again, the real easy answer that Tchaikovsky gives is that we have 3 general tonal areas that we can move to based off of an accidental that's given to us that can be based off of a secondary dominant or a secondary function, which is based off of a fully diminished seventh chord. Now, sometimes it is true that you can have these types of accidentals that don't lead to these tonal areas, and even some types of examples where there are no accidentals at all and still have that suggestion of modulation implied by either the length of the phrase or just your personal preference with the direction of the tonality. So at the end of the day, it is your decision. However, these are just the bare bones basics that Tchaikovsky gives us to work with. So I'll go ahead and show you the example that I did, and then we'll go from there. So I would strongly encourage you all to analyze this example, because through it I mainly focused on 2 other tonal centers other than the B minor that I begin and end in. And through the analysis of this example, you would be able to find those other tonal areas, and I was really futzing around with the harmony and playing with different types of dissonances to end up in those tonal areas. So that's pretty much it for today. Yeah, always let me know if this was helpful. Tell me what can be better, what's bad, etc. And yeah, if you have any questions, feel free to let me know. I'm always more than happy to help you guys. But in the meantime, that's it. So peace.